Hey, English 099ers. I've had a couple people have some questions about doing the outline, and this is going to be my attempt to make sure it's 100% clear for everybody. I know I made another video, but I really want people to be able to understand this and see how it relates to the writing process. So I figured my goal here is to actually go through the entire writing process as if I'm you and I'm kind of lost and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to go through and show you kind of what to do. The good news about that is hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a clear understanding of how to not just start brainstorming and then do an outline and then do a draft, but actually get to a finished draft. The bad news about that is I'm going to try to show you the whole process. So this might be a little long. I'm definitely trying to keep it to under 30 minutes. And keep in mind, whatever part you're stuck at, you can come back and watch. Watch the whole thing at double speed and speed me up. For the parts that you don't understand, you can go back to a couple times. Feel free to ask questions. But again, this is my attempt to help those of you who are stuck out and hopefully make everything nice and clear and simple. All right. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm in our course shell. I know I have to write a paper. I'm confused. I'm lost. So this is the English 101 course shell, by the way. First thing I'm going to do is go and check out the paper assignment. I should always see what I'm doing. So I go into Unit 1, Section 1, and I download Essay 1 assignment. And I've got that. I've got a few things prepped. I'm going to do most of this off the top of my head, but I got some documents open. Okay, so a 2 to 4 page compare and contrast essay. Any two articles. Okay, I read all those articles. I did my journals on them. I might consider how are the author's opinions similar or different. I could start even brainstorming now. Let's see. Well, I decided I picked Andrew Sullivan and Celia Rothenberg. How are the author's opinions similar? I don't know, actually. I'll have to think about that. Okay, what types of evidence do the authors use to make their points? Ooh, I have an answer for that one. Rothenberg uses very personal evidence. That's the story, A Child of Divorce, and she just talks about her life growing up and what it was like with divorced parents. Sullivan, the guy from Why the M Word Matters to Me, he just talked about his life growing up. So he used personal evidence too. Oh, nice. Okay, I have something I can write about. I'm not as panicky now. How do they express their points? I don't know. What does the teacher mean, express their points? They do it in writing. Geez. Is there a difference in writing style or tone? Well, I remember thinking Rothenberg's was like surprisingly happy. It was about divorce, but her family got along really well and stuff. Where Sullivan's definitely had a more depressing and sad tone. Yes. Okay. So there are a few things I didn't understand, but a few things that I could answer right away. So I'm off to a good start. Which author crafts a more effective or convincing or personal or moving essay? Well, which one does the teacher want? I bet he put them all like that just because, I can pick any adjective I want just to compare the articles. Which author was more effective or convincing? Honestly, I thought Rothenberg's was. It was a little longer. I thought it gave more specific detail. Um, it I don't know if that's convincing though. So was it more personal? They were both personal. Was it moving? Um, I don't know, but I guess these are all opinion words. So if I just have an opinion about the articles that I can compare, that would work. I thought one was funnier than the other, or one was sadder than the other, or one was funny and one was not funny. So any adjective I can come up with. And then any other insightful connections you can make. I don't know, they have to be insightful. Okay, so I need to review the brainstorming PowerPoint. That's going to help me brainstorm. Good, the teacher put that right in here. So we're going to do that next, and we're going to come back to this. We're always going to come back to this. I'm already 3 minutes in. I'm going to keep checking the time. Sorry. um, okay, teacher said brainstorming PowerPoint. I'm right back where I was. Unit 1, Section 1, English 101. Brainstorming for compare and contrast essay. I've got that. Oh, I remember this. Oh man, this was great because I got to look at this and compare these two guys from a 1980s movie that I've probably never heard of that the teachers thought would be interesting. Anyway, I get the point. I had to compare Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, and tall. One was tall, one was short, one had hair, one was bald. It's easy. I'm comparing these two guys. Look how different they are. Of course, some things are the same too. Oh wait, that's what I'm doing with the articles. Okay, so I'm doing the same. But how does that apply to the articles? There's not a tall article and a bald article and a sunglasses article. Um, all right, so the point of that was to sort the things into categories like height or hairstyle or clothing. Okay, and some are similar and some are different. And then, best of all, make this an outline. Oh wait, so this is going from brainstorming, coming up with descriptors for each article, or in this case, two guys. But if I applied this to the articles, I'm going to do a descriptor for each article and have it in a category. Kind of like evidence. I thought of evidence on the Essay 1 assignment. What type of evidence do authors use? One uses personal evidence and talks about his childhood. The other uses personal evidence and talks about her childhood. So I could do personal and personal in a category of evidence. And then after I have those ideas, it looks like he just wrote these in sentence. The men are different heights. Tall, short, height. Yep, different heights. Let's see. Has short hair, balding, and hairstyle. The men have different hairstyles. Yeah, I know. That's what's in the notes. That's in the notes because that's what my brainstorming does. My brainstorming would set me up right for a nice, clear statement. Seems easy that I just turn these into statements. Wearing sunglasses and wearing sunglasses. That's the accessories or eyewear category. Um, the men have the same accessories and eyewear. Oh, okay. But so these are my topic sentences, and that's a first draft. It says, and then I would revise these a little bit. Maybe I would combine some. So I go from brainstorming ideas of how two things are similar or different to turning those into simple statements, and then I make those statements a little nicer if I want. But this is what an outline is. It says, look how easy it is to make a basic outline. These would be the topic sentences for the outlines. Topic sentences are huge. Topic sentences tell me exactly what each paragraph is going to be about. So if I were to write this essay, I would have a paragraph about the men being different heights. And the sentence that would start that paragraph would be something like, the men are different heights. And then the rest of the evidence would prove how Arnold Schwarzenegger is this height and Danny DeVito is this height. And I would move on. The way I would do that with articles is by using quotes. Okay, enough of this. Let's get to articles. Um, okay, so secret bonus slide. It's not so secret and bonus, but these are some categories I can consider for my articles. Okay, let's try that. So I did a little tiny prep, and I took those categories and copied and pasted them into a Word document. I just made a chart here, and I know I'm doing Sullivan and Rothenberg. So let's try that same brainstorming Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Sullivan, topic, definitely gay marriage. And you know what? Family. I think he wrote a lot about family too. I mean, he mentioned family 8 times in the opening paragraph, I think. Rothenberg, she wrote about divorce. But I'd say hers really, the bigger focus is also family. Okay, so I have a difference and a similarity. We'll see what I do with that. Stance on topic. Pro gay marriage and pro family. I don't think I want to say pro or anti-divorce. So her stance on the topic. You know what though? The stance on the topic. If I say divorce, I'd say her stance was divorce. Doesn't have to be bad. Family, and so she was very pro-family too. That family sticks together. Pro-family, wanted family, and I can come back. These are just random ideas. I don't think that's very good, so it's fine to have a not so good idea. Type of evidence. Ooh, this was one I nailed from the beginning. Personal experience and personal experience. Emotional appeal. Emotional appeal. What does that mean? It has the word emotion in it. Okay, so what emotions might this make the reader feel? Ooh, Sullivan. I remember feeling depressed and sad. I remember I had sympathy for him. That's a good word to use if I feel like I feel bad for someone else or what they went through. You know what? At the end, though, I do think there was a little hope. It ended on sort of a hopeful note. He said he reaches out to the person, the teenager maybe who's reading this now, who went through what he went through, and he's trying to help him. So I thought there was a little hopeful, or you know what? I got a better word than hopeful, maybe inspirational at the end. Her emotional appeal. I could also go. I didn't get a big sense of depression and sadness. I think there is some sympathy, and there were definitely some hard times, but overall, I'd say it's really uplifting. I mean, you pick up an article called Child of Divorce, you don't expect it to be as positive, I think, as that one. At least I don't. So those are the emotions I kind of got. Personal details. Yes, there's a lot of personal details in that one. And yes, there's a lot of personal details in that one. I'll say he talks about his childhood, and actually, it's more adolescence for him. See, I'm coming up with different ideas as I type. And you get to watch me try to spell things. Adolescence, and that's adolescence as the people adolescence. That's adolescence as the stage of life. And hers was, I go childhood. Enjoyable to a particular audience. I don't know. I feel like his article is written for everybody, really. Hers, I don't know, maybe parents, children of divorce, children who have gone through that, had their parents divorce. So I don't know, not a good idea. Guess what? Fine, I won't use that idea then. The message, his message overall, I think his message is that gay marriage should be legal and all love dash family is important. That's what I took away from his, at least. What I took away from hers was, hey, this sounds like what I took away from hers. Divorce doesn't have to be bad. I thought that was her main message. Oh, gee, some of these are overlapping. Message and stance on topic. Is that okay? Sure, that's okay. These are just, brainstorming is just a place to get ideas. I'm putting a bunch of stuff down. Quality of argument. Okay, I'm not even going to get into this. Quality of argument. I don't know. His was good and hers was good. But since I don't know what I'm going to prove, I'm not going to use that one. So I'm going to scratch this one just because I don't even want to see that there. Style. What's style? So style is how someone wrote something. Again, this was a personal story, and this was a personal story. I feel like I'm repeating myself. That's because some ideas are going to overlap. And the tone, tone is really the same thing as emotional appeal. Tone is how the writing makes us feel. Think of tone of voice. You can tell if somebody's angry or really happy or whatever. So I'm gonna skip that one too, or I can copy and paste if I want. Okay, so now I've got a chart just like in here. And we went from this to this. Most basic topic sentences. So we're going to get onto that now. So we're moving from brainstorming to outlining. And we are, hopefully, 10 minutes in. Good, that's about what I was aiming for. We are 10 minutes in. But you know what? I said some of these ideas weren't good. Fine. We can cross them out. We can use them, not use them, ignore them. But there's also plenty of other things. You do not have to stick to just the teacher's ideas for categories. I thought one of the things that struck me about that I think I can compare is the titles. Sullivan's title was it was indirect. I wrote direct first. Indirect and intriguing. That's how I described it. I remember reading why the M word matters to me and tried to think of all the swears that could begin with M word, motherfucker, and the M word. Why is he talking about the M word? So it was an indirect and intriguing. Oh, but I knew it was personal because it was why the M word matters to me, personal. Child of divorce. Hers was very direct. But you know what? When I read child of divorce, when I read child of divorce, I expect something kind of, woe is me. I thought it was going to be a sad tale about a child having a really tough time. So I was misled. I would say her title is direct but misleading. What else did I have? Endings. I remember commenting on the endings. The endings are similar. And part of that goes back to something I mentioned before was the hope and inspiration. And he reaches out to someone else going through this. And hope, inspiration. I think she also reaches out and she goes broader and talks about not just her family anymore, but how any family can make this work. So I think those are all the ideas I had. I'm going to cheat and look at my sample outline. Did I have? Yep. Inspiration, stress, and importance of ending. Endings are similar, different. Oh, that's a good idea. Can't believe I forgot that idea. Normally I wouldn't have that idea in the outline yet if I haven't brainstormed it. But sense of self. Now, obviously, the teacher didn't put sense of self in one of the categories because that's not going to be relevant to every article. So that's why I'm coming up with my own things. These things are things that should appear in most of the articles, even if they overlap. That's why some of them overlap. Some articles have a different tone than emotional appeal, but some don't. Sense of self, you might read plenty of authors who you don't have any idea kind of really who they are. Anyway, these two, I'm sticking to these two. So Sullivan, his sense of self is very negative. I thought he had a negative sense of self, and Rothenberg seems well adjusted. Okay, so those are all of my ideas. Now I'm finally going to go from brainstorming to outline. I said we look at this and we got our chart, and then we just turn those into statements. So that's where we're going to go to the sample outline. And this is exactly what I did. So if you've been looking at the sample outline going, well, what the hell, how did he get there? I've just walked you through how I would get there. So I just pointed at my screen. Glad you can't see that. I took each of these things and just stated them as a similarity or difference in a statement. So pause the screen if you want to come back to these or look at these, but there. The titles give some information but also have intrigue. I think I can say that about about both titles. I like the idea for title. And then, so that's my main idea for the paragraph. Topic sentences, main idea for the paragraph. Rothenberg, I need to prove this for two authors. I'm comparing both. So Rothenberg's article was clearly about the child's perspective of divorce, but it was surprisingly not negative, as I mentioned when I was brainstorming. And Sullivan's was unclear and it was confusing, but I knew it was personal. And I would need to give an example. And these would be direct quotes from the article. Obviously, the only quotes I can use for this particular topic sentence would be the titles of the article, since I'm talking about the titles. And for an outline, this is what you guys need to do. You guys need to come up with your topic sentences. Let me know what your main idea for each author is. It's really just taking the stuff from the boxes if you brainstormed that way. And then I want to see the examples you're going to use. I want to see the quotes that you're going to use, so make sure you put in your quotes. That's the one thing that is not complete on this outline. I just did fake quotes and page numbers. I did that just in case anybody was going to use these two articles. They wouldn't just use every single quote, or I didn't take people's quotes basically. Okay, so my next one, I like the idea that there was personal experience in both. So her personal experience is this, and I'll come up with some quotes to prove that. His personal experience is this, and I'll come up with a quote to prove that. How many examples you have doesn't matter, as long as you have at least one for each author. So at least one for Rothenberg, at least one for Sullivan in each pair to prove each point. You cannot say there's personal experience in both and say, yeah, Sullivan, he was really personal and he talked all about his life, and I shouldn't say I will not believe you, but I'll rephrase that as the best proof is always a direct quote. I want a direct quote to prove that. Don't just tell me it was personal. Show me. Give me his words to prove it was personal. Next idea, both are very emotional and inspirational. Okay, so Rothenberg, my idea for her had the emotions of pain and struggle, but mostly happy and inspiring. His had more sympathy and sadness, but ends with an inspirational note to others. I would find my example of this because I need to prove this. So, because maybe you read this and you didn't think there were the emotions of pain and struggle, and that it was mostly happy and inspiring. So I've got to give you an example of the pain and struggle. Maybe I'll use a quote about her mom walking backwards through the house, turning off the lights. And then I say, but it was mostly happy and inspiring. So maybe I will use this would be a good place where I would use more than one quote, because I have sort of a couple ideas here. So, an example, I don't know why I'm writing this. I'm not going to actually go find the quote right now, but I would have another quote about how it's happy. And she says her family was a team, and a team that sometimes struggle, and a team that worked together, and blah, 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 blah. So that's my example of that, and I'm going to explain how that's happy and inspiring. Okay, so I just ran through the first three of these. There is a whole other video just on this, so hopefully that's enough on this, but this is what you need to do. Remember it. I guess I'm going to try to give a real quick summary of the other video too. Remember, then you're just picking what you want and what you don't want, what works and what doesn't work. Do I like the ideas of titles? Do I like the idea of personal experience? Just for the heck of it, it's probably different than what I did in the other video. I'm just going to cut these bottom three. I don't like these three for some reason. And you don't have to do 3. You could do 4, you could do 2, you could do 5, as long as you get the paper long enough. So now I need a thesis. Okay, the titles are similar but different. So that's weird. Similar and different. Personal experience in both. Okay, so that's a similarity. I'm just going to mark that a plus so I remember. And they're both inspirational. And okay, so this is the emotions, and this is the type of evidence, personal, and titles are intriguing. Okay. So I see a lot of similarities there. Both articles have, I'm just going to go with intriguing. And I might change that word later. And I should probably write intriguing, not intriguing. Intriguing titles. Both articles have intriguing titles. Use personal experience as evidence, and use emotions to get their points across. Now my paper is 75% done, especially if, like you should, I have the examples picked out, the quotes picked out. I have a thesis, I have topic sentences, and I have examples. You do not need to do this part for your outline. I wrote this up here just so I remember. I want to start broad, and then I want a summary, and then I want the thesis. That's going to be my intro. So now's a good time to go back and look at Essay 1 assignment. Let's check time, 20 minutes. And okay, so I did my brainstorming and I even did my outlining. What's next? I need to follow academic essay format. I need to review the academic writing PowerPoint. That is the most important document in the entire class. and it's in 101 section 1, or unit 1 section 2, unit 1 section 2. Here's the grammar stuff. You want to make sure you write correct sentences and review your grammar. And there's the academic writing PowerPoint. I'm not going to download it. It's 35, 38 something slides. I know it's really long, but it has everything you need, even a walkthrough of brainstorming. Again, I hope this visual helps, watching me kind of do it in action. But hopefully if you go back and you look through those slides carefully, I really hope I did an okay job of explaining things in there. I might have explained stuff differently. I gave you a couple different types of brainstorming. So use that stuff. So definitely review that. You're going to review that for a lot of these things. Okay, then I need to, for this paper, I was going to say format my paper, so don't think I was going to say something else. Format my paper correctly. I need a title. I need an introductory paragraph. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to sit down and write the paper. And I'm going to do this for all of 10 minutes, so this doesn't go past half an hour. Of course, I say that now. Shoot, okay, so how should I start my paper? I've got a blank, geez, sorry, too many things open. Got a blank document in front of me. Wait, I remember. I think there's something that tells me how to set up a paper. I'm going to download this writing tips document to make sure I set the paper up correctly. And if I didn't do that at first, I would see when I went to do this checklist, be sure to adhere to all of the writing tips for the paper setup. Good thing I read this whole paper assignment here and saw that. So I looked at the writing tips, and I know that I have to write my name, and then I have to write my dang teacher's name. You can write Adam Flaherty. I just didn't want to write it twice. And then I have to write the class, English 101, and then I have to write the date. Let's see, today is 17 September 2020. And I know, geez, I remember the teacher was really picky. It needs to be font size 12, Times New Roman. I highlighted everything with select all, and it needs to be double spaced. And I'm going to click don't add space between paragraphs of the same style because I don't want to cheat and skip lines. I know the teacher will turn that off anyway. Oh, look, it made it a little longer. Good. And there's one other thing I want to do is insert, not page break, where is it? Page number. And I want to do that at the top of page. And I want to have it on the right. And I want to type my last name in front of it. And now that will show up on every page. Okay, I know that one line below this, I need my title. You know what? I don't have a title yet. So I'm going to do this. This is the worst title ever. I have gotten papers with this title. I do that as a placeholder, and I make it bold just so I come back and hopefully remember it. So remember to come up with a good title at the end. And your title will not be bold or underlined or in italics. It will just be regular font size 12 Times New Roman double spaced. Now the worst part, I'm staring at a blank white screen. What do? Ooh, I go to my outline. Which one was my outline? Which one was my outline? There's my outline. Okay. Oh, good. I've got all my ideas, but I didn't really do anything for the intro. But I know what to do. I need to start general and give a summary of each article and have a thesis. And when in doubt, I'm always going to go either to the academic writing PowerPoint, which gives a whole lot of detail, and I'm going to review that if I need, or I'm going to go right here. This is a little cheat version of that. All of those, not nearly all of those slides, but a good chunk of those slides in terms of formatting right here. Start broad with a few sentences about the main topic or issue, like marriage or parenting or gender, to engage the reader. All right, what was my? I don't know why I keep clicking on that. What was my main? What were these two articles about? One was gay marriage and one was divorce. They were both about family, and they were both about childhood. Okay, so I need a few sentences. This is the part of the paper, the only part that's really fluff. So I'm going to go. I'm aiming 2 to 4 sentences of fluff. Oop, don't want to bold. Coming up with this off the top of my head, if I were in class, I would describe this as this is where the only place you can bullshit, but I don't want to say that in the video since it's recorded. So this is the fluff part. Families come in, in all shapes and sizes. Some people grow up in a happy, loving, I'm a terrible typing today, loving household. Others have traumatic experiences that shape their futures negatively. Some people grow up in single parent households while others have two parents or guardians at home. Regardless of the family makeup, I don't want to use the word family again. Regardless of the makeup, the concept of a family is one of the few things all people have in common. Oh man, that's not so great. Well, that was my fluff. I'm going with the fluff word. I can come back and change this a little bit, but that was my attempt to show you. And what did that take me? A couple minutes to come up with off the top of my head. It was basically just write some BS on family. That's all I need. I need to start broad. That's the big broad part of my triangle. Now I need, it said, I think I know what it is, but I think it said transition from broad and specific, which means introducing the articles, provide a summary, and review the journal assignment. Oh, I'm not going to go open that up now, but I know that has a good thing for summaries. So I'm going to say, in Celia Rothenberg's article, Child of Divorce, she writes about what it was like growing up after her parents divorced. First, she talks about, then she mentions, etc., etc. Next, I don't have to go first, then next, but this is the idea of, this is the structure I'm following for a summary. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to do a transition, like Rothenberg. Andrew Sullivan also shares details from his youth in the article Why the M Word Matters to Me. First he blah blah blah, then da da da, after da da da, finally da da da. And there's my summaries. Remember, a summary has to have the author's first name, has to have the has to have the author's first and last name, and has to have the title of the article. And then it just gives a objective account of what happened. Objective means no opinion, so no judging words in here. I wouldn't even say funny or really good or bad, or you're not praising it. You're just saying, what was it about? This is what she wrote about. She wrote about this. She wrote about this. She wrote about this. This is what he wrote about. And then I need my thesis. And because I did that in the outline, and I sent this to the teacher, and he corrected it. If I could find a simple outline. Bada bing. And I hate when that happens. It messes it up for me, but I'm just going to copy paste. Let's go back to this. Oops. Wow, and that's my intro paragraph. Hey, and imagine how long that would be if I actually filled in these 3-4 sentences for this summary, 3-4 sentences for this summary. My intro is going to be about half a page. I feel pretty good about this. And look, from reading this one sentence, both articles have intriguing titles, use personal experience as evidence, and use emotions to get their points across. I know, or the reader knows, your teacher knows, exactly what your whole paper is going to be about. It's going to compare articles by their titles, by the type of evidence they use, and by the emotions. Oh no, what do I do for a body paragraph though? I know, I can go back to the academic writing PowerPoint and review all of that stuff very carefully. And I could start by looking at this. I need to start with a topic sentence. I need to set the context. I need to smoothly lead into a quote. I need to work it in using my own words or a signal phrase. I need to cite the quote correctly. I need to explain and analyze it, and I need to repeat. Okay, again, let's take this step by step. Topic sentence. I have one. I'm not going to start with the title one. Yeah, I should start with the title. I'll do the title one. Okay. So I'm going to copy and paste again. And I always open up the wrong thing. You get to watch me do that over and over. Let's now remember, because I wrote that as an outline, I didn't do my best writing. Titles give some information but also have intrigue. Let's see if I can pretty that up. First, I'm trying to unhighlight it. Each author crafts a title that gives some information but also has intrigue. Yes! Okay, topic sentence is good. Does that go with my thesis? Both articles have intriguing titles. Yes, it does. My topic sentence matches my thesis because my thesis tells what my paper is about, and my topic sentence tells what my paragraph is going to be about. This whole paragraph is only going to be about the titles giving information and being intriguing. I'm not going to mention personal evidence. I'm not going to mention inspiring. I'm not going to mention divorce. I'm not mentioning anything else except the titles because that's what this says the paragraph is about. And I have a whole paragraph written here. It was in the sample outline. You do not have to do that for your sample outline. Your sample outline just needs to fill in topic sentences, ideas for authors, and quotes you're going to use, and thesis. That's it. So remember that. Going back to this, and there's my body paragraph. So I want to quickly go through the parts since I'm not writing this in front of you to match it up with Essay 1 assignment. Topic sentence check. Set the context of a quote. Context is what's going on around the quote. Review the academic writing PowerPoint. Now, there's not much going along. These aren't good ones for me to show you context because how do you say what's going on around the title? It's the first thing you read on the page. There's nothing going on yet. So first, Sullivan chooses the title, Why the M Word Matters to Me. That's all I could do for context. That's also the quote. The title is the quote. So after I set the context, I lead into it. Notice how I lead this in. I do work this into my own sentence. Sullivan chooses the title, Why the M Word Matters to Me. Okay, great. So what? Well, my goal is to prove that gives some information, but that it's also intriguing. So I did the context. I led into the quote. I cited it, and I need to explain and analyze it exactly how it does that. So that's what the next part of that paragraph does. Goes through and explains how the title gives it intrigue and some information. Then, since I'm talking about both articles, each author in the topic sentence, I need both authors in this paragraph. So I transition. Rothenberg's title, on the other hand, seems to all too obviously give away the scope of the article. When reading Child of Divorce, there's my quote. One other thing I'm going to point out in this sample is I did not quote this. Everything else, you're going to use a parenthetical citation. And if the article has line numbers, you're going to do line numbers. And if it doesn't, you don't. But because they're the titles, they're not numbered. If that's what it would look like I would put at the end of the sentence the line where it came from. Never count line numbers. If the document doesn't already have it in it, then you would just do page number. So I suppose I could do this 1, and then that means page 1. That is probably what I should do since the title is on page 1. So this sentence, for Sullivan chooses the title, Why the M Word Matters to Me. There, and that's on page 1. So I did that. So I quote her title, and then I explain how it's intriguing. And then I use a concluding sentence. Both authors did a great job giving away just enough in their titles while still leaving something surprising for readers. I'm going on a little over. Let's see. Well, hey, if we had a class, you'd be listening to this for an hour and 15 minutes a couple times a week. So if I could, if I could help you and get this in one video that ends up being 40 minutes, 45 minutes, no problem. But I am trying to wrap it up. Okay, so what next? I finished a paragraph. Then I'm going on my next one. There is personal experience in both. The authors both fill their articles with personal experiences that they went through. Now notice that just sounds slightly better than personal experience in both. I turned it into a sentence, but that was really simple because I knew what was coming next because I looked at my outline and I saw that after I use those examples, I'm going to go on to my next paragraph. Rothenberg growing up with divorced parents and uses vivid details. Okay, you know what? I actually have a sample on that too. So one other thing you can do when you're writing body paragraphs, you review the academic writing PowerPoint. you watch this video. You also can use body paragraph organizer with samples. Another helpful tip. So now I'm going to show you how to use that. Here's how you use it. Fill this in. Sorry, but topic sentence. Rothenberg uses vivid details to share her personal experience of growing up with divorced parents. My topic sentence for this one might be both authors use personal experience in their essays. Or whatever that topic sentence was I wrote on the other page that I could just copy and paste. And then I need quote introduction. There's two on here, by the way. There's one for Sullivan and one for Rothenberg. They don't go together, though. Actually, yeah, no, this one was more about emotion to make a point, and this one was about vivid details. So these are two separate example body paragraphs. Rothenberg uses vivid details to share personal experience of growing up. I need context for the quote. That's context. How did I find that context? How did I know what to write for context? Well, let me show you. I'm going to get rid of this Sullivan one just to get it out of the way. There we go. Well, here's the quote I picked. And this would have been in my outline. It's the quote about the mom walking around the room. Not to be alone in the dark, she would lock a door and then a window, pausing between the locks to distract. Imagine if I just came up to you and said, not to be alone in the dark, she would lock a door and then a window, pausing between. You'd say, what the hell are you talking about? Who's locking these doors? What's going on? You're crazy. That's how it is if you just drop the quote. So I need to give you context. So I'm going to tell you this quote in a minute, but first I want to tell you. So Rothenberg admits that she has trouble remembering many of the early difficulties her family faced. However, she shares a story that her mother told her about dealing with the changes after the divorce. Look, I set you up for what she's going to tell. And then I need the quote with a smooth lead in or signal phrase. You'll see signal phrases in the academic writing PowerPoint. Those are as easy as he says, he states, she describes, whatever. Those are okay. You can use signal phrases. If you're new to weaving in quotes, use them. The goal, once you become more adept at it, is to work the author's words smoothly into your own, so that if I read this out loud, you can't tell where my words stop and the author's words begin. So here's how I do that. Her mom had to plan out which rooms to turn out the lights in first, so that she would not be alone in the dark. She would lock a door and then a window, pausing. Notice I read that naturally. You can't tell where the quoted stuff begins, except for the fact that that's why it's important to actually quote the material. So I work the author's words into my own, and I put the page number at the end. I don't remember if your version of Rothenberg is on page 2 or if it has line numbers. If it has line numbers, you would put line numbers. I don't remember if I took this from the textbook when I was doing it. Anyway, so there's my quote. I have the topic sentence, the context, or the context, and then the smooth lead-in, the quote with the proper citation, and then I need a detailed explanation analysis of that. This is the hard part, but this is hopefully the bulk of the paragraph. And there it is. you could read this. I don't need to read this out loud to you, and I won't. But this quote, I am saying this is evidence right here. This is the evidence I'm using. This is evidence that both authors use personal experience in their essays. Okay, and I'm saying Rothenberg used vivid details to share her personal experience with divorced parents. I could have put that. Could have actually put that right there. So this is an example of her using vivid details to share personal experience. That means I need to explain to you how this right here, these words that I quoted, this evidence is personal and full of vivid details. And that's what I tried to do in here, to explain how it's personal and vivid details. Now, I'm not going to conclude this paragraph and wrap it up if I'm going to have a topic sentence about both authors. I'm going to do this exact same thing for my next author, which would be Sullivan. Bear with me. I'm not going to do the whole thing either, but you know what I wouldn't need, or I guess I could keep, I wouldn't do the topic sentence. So I'm going to take, you know what I should have done? Sorry for this. Insert row below. Just to show you what it looks like. Insert row below. Insert row below. Nope. There, that should work. and then I pasted, I'm doing these steps over again. Remember I said do steps 2 to 4 as many times as needed, so I'm doing steps 2, 3, and 4 again. And the quote introduction. Um, it bothers me that that's red and large. I don't know what quote I'm going to use. I didn't pick a quote out for Sullivan here. I'll come up with one off the top of my head since I know that article well, and I think this I use in the PowerPoint. First, I'm going to transition. Andrew Sullivan also shares very personal experiences in his essay. Okay, there's my transition. Oops, quote introduction context. I forgot. And so my context for this quote, I'm going to use the one he says, I withdrew, I became neurotic, depressed, at times close to suicidal. I think I have that right. I'm not going to take the time to look it up. But if I just came up and said that to you, you'd say, you're depressed, suicidal? Wait. So I got to give you context. By the way, I refer to authors as their last names only after I introduce them once, or after I introduce them, first time in a sentence, but I wouldn't call him Andrew. Sullivan writes about his struggles accepting his sexuality and sharing it with others. Things, that's all I need. I was going to say things got so hard for him, but I realized that's going to leave that's going to be a good lead in. So things got so hard for him that he withdrew, became neurotic, isn't it? He withdrew, became neurotic, depressed at times, close to suicidal. I do not have that quote exactly, and what I would do right now if I weren't trying to keep this video short, and I know I'm failing at that, would be to go and actually look that quote up. You would have the quote because you would have already copied and pasted it in your outline. You wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now and coming up with it off the top of my head. You'd go here and say personal experience in both. Oh, here's my example. Okay, so I know exactly what example I'm going to use. I didn't do that. And then I'm going to say, I think that was line, I'm going to make this up, 18. Boom. And now I need to, and I'm not going to do this part again, explain how do these words show that he uses personal experience, and it's about accepting himself. Well, obviously he's writing about himself. He's describing his own childhood. The fact that he shares that he's depressed is a very personal detail. He's sharing aspects of his mental health with us, and finally, the fact that he mentions he's close to suicidal shows just how traumatic this was for him to deal with as he was growing up. So he's sharing all these parts of his life. And I would say that. I would just say that a little, or I would write that a little cleaner than I said it, but basically the same thing. And then I need a concluding sentence. Concluding sentence is very similar to the topic sentence. So my concluding sentence for this paragraph is going to be something like, both authors do a wonderful job opening up and sharing their lives with the readers. See, that's see how I'm saying the same thing in completely different words. I didn't just say both authors use personal experience. Both authors use personal experience. This says the same thing as this. It's just different. That sounds stupid to me. I have a paragraph here. Aside from this missing box, if I copy and paste this to 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 this, I've got a paragraph. It's just out of boxes, and I would put that right in my essay. And there'd be my next paragraph, and then I'd do that for my third paragraph. So the concluding paragraph, this really is I don't teach this well even in class, so it's not just online, because it's just a recap. It really is. You're kind of doing what I just did in that concluding sentence there. You're doing that for the entire essay, rephrasing what your points already were, and try to end with a universal truth, a so what, a what can we learn. That's the sort of corny lesson at the end. So you know what my lesson might be for this one is, these authors show the importance I don't have a corny lesson. Never mind. I'd have to actually think about it. I was gonna say they show the importance of family, um, or um, in the end, even though they are different, the authors both agree that family matters. Watch this. So let's say that's the end of my concluding. That's how I end my paper. I've got my concluding paragraph. It starts specific with the details that I said, my topic sentence. I'm basically rephrasing them, and then it ends with this corny little lesson. What's nice is now I've got a title too. Family Matters. I think that was a show with Urkel on it. I think that's what it was actually called. And look at that. And now my title ties to the end of my paper. And my paper's great because I have a good intro and I've got one good body paragraph. And in our imagination, I have another really good body paragraph here because that's what I use this graphic organizer for. And I would, of course, do my third body paragraph. Oh, shoot, my third. What is it? There it is. It's both are very emotional and inspirational, go through the same steps. Now, do I submit right away? No, there's a few more things I'm going to do. I'm going to open up this writing checklist. And I want an A, so I'm going to make sure I did every darn thing the teacher asked for on here. And I'm going to go through, did I organize and brainstorm? Yes. I'm not going to read this out loud to you, but make sure you do this for each one. This is how speaking as the teacher now, am grading you. This is my checklist, and mentally in my head, I'm looking, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? So go through that. After you've done that, you can go through an editing checklist. And same idea. Did you do this? Did you do this? It's for commas, run-ons, more for writing, for the grammar stuff covered in this unit. You should be doing those on Inquisitive, but also here's a quick review of some of the stuff that was from those PowerPoints. It's like, again, the PowerPoints and videos in one page, so it's condensed information. And one other thing that I hope you guys do, compare and contrast model essay. I should read those. You know what? I should have probably pointed this out before. If I were you as a student, I would have looked at this before I started writing mine. And this gives me, oh, okay, so here's some of the stuff that the person did, and here's the comments that Adam made on it, and here's how an intro looks. Did Adam say this was good or bad? Did he say the thesis? This is how a thesis goes. This is how topic sentences go. Look and see. The teacher said these are models, so obviously they're not perfect, but if the teacher put them up there, they must have earned a good grade. He gave them an A and A plus. I'm talking like a student again. I don't know why. So this is what gets an A or A plus. And you can use that if you want to see where these things are. Go through the checklist on these. Is there a clear topic sentence? Then is there context for the quote? Then does the person lead into the quote? Look, they didn't here. Need at least a signal phrase, if not a smoother lead in. So that was one of my comments. They didn't have a good signal phrase here. But overall, this essay was still really good, as was the other one. So you guys have models, you have other resources to use. I've pointed those out in Blackboard before, but I know things are jumbled and there's so much, I was going to call it crap. It's not crap, it's my hard work. There's so much stuff in here that it's easy maybe to get lost. So hopefully this video showed you where to go to get things, how to use them, that I'm going to use this for this, I'm going to use this. I'm always coming back to this. This is going to be the final checklist I'm going to use and go through. Yep, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Most of this stuff is in the other checklists. But it seems like a lot, but like I said, showing you, hopefully going through it kind of step by step from the brainstorming to the outlining, to the drafting, to the revising, to the editing, or the proofreading. Everything is there. I'm making the screen crazy, sorry. And use the material. Hopefully this video helped as a walkthrough. After you do get a draft, well, you're going to submit your outlines, and then after you get your outlines back, your outlines should look like this, literally like this, just with your samples. It should have your own thesis, your own topic sentences. You don't need a paragraph. Okay, said that 100 times. You're going to submit this to me. I'm going to give you some feedback on this. So if you're way off track and say, oh, whoa, what are you doing? And I've done that a couple times already for people. And if you are on the right track, I say good, and maybe I'll come up with another idea for you. I'll give you some help if you can. But if you're on the right track, then you keep going. You turn this into the draft, as we did. You're going to submit the draft to a tutor who's going to give you some feedback. They can help you go over the checklist if you want, and then you revise it and you submit it. And hopefully, if you followed all of this stuff and you look at the sample essays and you're good at the grammar stuff, which can be challenging, you should get at least a decent passing grade. All right, I've got to stop this because this is ridiculously long. Clocking in at 50 minutes. So much for 30 minutes. Thanks for staying with me. I do hope this helped. Again, a freaking hour of PowerPoint. I apologize, but this is my best attempt. I can't think of how else to explain things. I tried to make things clear in the class with do this, to do this, to do this, do this, do this, to go step by step. Um, at least here's a visual representation that you can watch over and over again. Still ask questions if you have them, but make your way through this at least once, pausing where you need, rewinding where you need, and fast forwarding where you need. All right. Good luck, everybody.